All right, welcome back, everybody. Mike DiMuccio here, your host on Aligning with Success. Today is Monday, October 18, 2021. Welcome, everyone. Hey, Dr. Gary, nice to see you. And we have the usual suspects, Leo LeMay, our resident superstar. And as I mentioned, we got Wes wearing red. Look out, ladies. He looks pretty hot in red, don't you think? I think. It's a good look. Anyways,
Mike, you're not my type.
I'm glad to hear that. Okay, that's fine. Well, listen, last week I thought we touched on a pretty important subject and I got a lot of feedback around it. So I thought it would be worth maybe embellishing it a little bit and really picking up on that. But before we do that, I want to congratulate the Canadians on this call who are leading the charge with 31% growth in Canada this year so far, which is spectacular. That's a heck of a growth cycle. Yeah, it's certainly worth being applauded. And I had a chance to maybe chime in on that a little bit from my perspective, and maybe we'll come back to that after this call or during the call, because I think it's quite relevant where the growth is coming from and what's being perceived by the company as well by myself. But before we do that, we'll get back to that. I want to remind everyone as well that this weekend is a very, very important weekend for Nikken. Friday and Saturday is the global convention. It's not often we have a global convention. If I'm not mistaken, it's used to be once every 5 years. I think it's once every 3 years now. But just the same, it's, I think, one of the most important things we can do for ourselves and for our business is to expose people to the big picture. And there's never a bigger picture than when you get to meet your brothers and sisters from around the globe, recognize, honor their achievements, hear from them, and see their beautiful faces and how they express themselves when they're talking about Nikken. You know, the look on someone's face, the inflection in their voice, the energy in their speech and their talk says an awful lot about what they believe to be true about what they're doing. And that can influence people on your team or prospects that you invite more than anything. Probably more than any call or any meeting you could do, even live, in terms of in person. So I think that if your business plan doesn't include guests on this weekend's event, it's two days, Friday and Saturday on Eastern Coast. It's Eastern time. It's 12 to 4, 9 till 1 on the Pacific, both Friday and Saturday. And there's been postings of who's speaking when. For those of you who don't know Papa Jaime, he's one of the speakers on Friday. He is world renowned. Sophia was reading to me today. I probably shouldn't say this, but it's a little embarrassing for her, I think. But she was reading to me this morning when she was having her coffee with me and talking about what she was reading about this person, World Peace Ambassador, and she got very emotional. And then as she started to read the bio, she got very emotional. And because this is what her vision is to help children. And this is what this man has become world renowned for. In fact, nominated for a Nobel Prize, Peace Prize for that. And he's going to be a keynote speaker at our event, which says a lot about the kind of reputation Nikken has to attract a person of that caliber and that reputation, and what we stand for. What a lot of you don't know.
That one attached
So then
to
this one,
I'm not sure where that's coming from, but what a lot of you don't know is our CEO spends quite a bit of time with Papa Jaime as a personal coach and mentor. So, you know, he's getting the benefit of that wisdom and that spiritual centeredness, and has been for quite some time. So I think that really also speaks to the caliber of the leadership of the company, which is why I believe fully in the vision for Nikken of Vision 2025. And I'm going to end the call on that note. So again, this coming event is something you need to register for. It's $10 a ticket. Really consider getting tickets for guests, and just all you need is a name and an email to be able to invite somebody, and then just email that to Nikken, info@nikken.com, and then you can let them know. Is it Nikken.com or is it customer support? One of us probably knows the answer to that. I think it's one of those. Anyway, you can get the email address to send confirmation of who it is you're inviting, so that they can get a custom personalized URL for the event. And again, that makes it a little bit more personal when they're getting their own custom URL for the event. Okay, so enough of that. And I think I'm preaching to the choir here. You all know already how important this is, but this is more for the playback of people listening tomorrow night or tomorrow afternoon or whatever. Just again, how, time is running out. And I know every time, not sometime, but every time when we go through an Nikken event, especially one on this caliber and when this global event, we always leave the event feeling so excited, so committed, so renewed and focused, and we just wish for others that they were there with us. And so the job is now, the task is at hand right now, to do whatever you got to do to get out of your comfort zone, to make whatever calls you need to make those invitations happen. Make it personal. Email blasts, I don't know if you figured this out, don't work. Your Facebook posts do nothing. You need to pick up the phone and call whoever it is that you want to make sure is at that event, and just confirm that they're going to be there. Sometimes you find out they don't even know why. Well, because they're not plugged in. And we assume that, oh, but didn't you see the email? Oh, but didn't you see the Facebook post? Oh, but didn't you see my WhatsApp? No, make no assumptions. Right now, people are being blasted left, right, and center by communications from every possible source, people they didn't even know they had on their list. So yeah, make no assumptions. It's really go time. It's really get out of your comfort zone, spend the rest of this week, if you didn't make a single sale, just getting people invited to this world-class event, showcase event, so that they can learn more about why we're as passionate as we are about Nikken. So that's my plug, and anybody can jump in and echo whatever I've said thus far. I'm just going to give a space for that right now. So anybody want to holler in on that?
Mike, today on the ATR, Pam Barnes put together a nice summary of the speakers and sent it out to us. So I just copied it in pages for me to do it individually, along with the calls and the text that I'm sending to people. So
is that electronically available to be shared?
Yeah, that's what I was going to. Let me share it with you, then you can put it out there.
That would be great.
Yeah, then we'll give Pam the credit. She put it together. It's done really very nice.
Wonderful. Yeah, I like I said, it's go time. Like, this is turn every stone, guys. This is an important event. It could be a game changer for you. You never know what's going to happen. I was at an event yesterday, one that was very reluctant to go to, very hesitant on. It was a artisans market. Love the space outside, a little bit chilly, worried about rain and all that stuff, but the girls were committed to putting something on and connecting with the group of like-minded people that attend. And they did a product feature of the waterfall and the sleep system, and got exposure. And turns out the person right next to us had these great wood carvings for charcuterie boards and things like that, which I picked up one for myself. And I assume it's his girlfriend, whoever it was that was visiting with him, kept eyeing what was going on at our booth, and came over, and turned out she wanted to buy the waterfall right there on the spot. That was great, fantastic. And then said, you can just hit the QR code and you can place your order right away. And she walked away, and she was doing whatever. And then she came back and she came up to me and she said, "Can a person become a consultant with this?" And I said, "Yeah, it's $19.99. You can register as a consultant." She said, "Okay, is there anything like, you have to buy every month? Do you have to," all those typical questions, but right out of the blue. I said, no, you can learn a lot about Nikken and find out a lot from these girls. For myself, we have a process that we can inform you and whatever. So she walked away. So I'm thinking, oh, well, I guess so. She's not going to buy the product. Maybe she's going to join. I don't know. Anyway, she comes back, she says, "Okay, so how do I register?" And so right there, then on the spot, she registered as a consultant and purchased a waterfall on the spot. So you never know who you're going to meet. Well, you think, okay, so where does that lead? Well, she was invited to tonight's call, and with the leadership call that the girls do, the Sovereign Life team, and she was the most talkative person on the call. Had all kinds of advice for them, and she's a teacher. In fact, turns out that she was not just a teacher, but my daughter Savannah's high school dance teacher. So a small world. Savannah wasn't there yesterday, but it was hilarious when the two figured that out, how they knew each other. Anyways, so you just don't know what can happen, when it can happen, but you got to be ready for it. And so let's make this week the week of preparation for the best convention experience you've had in a long time, because we deserve it. Anyone else want to chime in on this before we move on?
You know, Mike, the other thing that people can do is invite people over to their home and just do it right there. We're going to be doing that down in Southern California. And I've invited some guests along with Yoko and Bob and Mary Ann Kelchner to watch it as a group. And
fantastic. A watch party.
Discussion. You bet.
Yeah, that's an awesome idea, by the way. That's a really great way to take the time and enjoy, and then have a little bit of social component to it.
Right.
So a watch party with your team or with guests or both is a fantastic idea. If you're not planning on doing this, be honest with yourself. But what about if you did? What if you just made that extra effort? Maybe it was just a watch party for two. It could be a game changer for you. It's really worth the effort. I know that when I know the effort that goes into this type of an event. They have professional people involved. They've got a range of speakers that's absolutely amazing. So the content alone is going to be fantastic. Even if you didn't get involved in Nikken, they're going to have some incredible talent sharing information that's totally relevant. Okay, so anyone else want to chime in before we move on? All right, so get your tickets. Encourage others to get their tickets, and maybe have a few on hand for your guests. Again, email Nikken with a name and an email address for your guests so that they can receive their personalized URL for the Zoom event this week or weekend. As a footnote to this, by the way, here's how I use this event. I built my business on events. Hands down, 100% built my business with events. Way to go, Michaele. You just bought your ticket and 3 more for guests. See, that's action. Action speaks louder than words, guys. Way to go. And you're gonna win. You're gonna benefit from that. It's the only thing that can happen there. What was I saying? So remember, in this business, everyone is in a certain place in their mind, in their emotions, in their life when it comes to Nikken. And what we want to encourage is movement, that people are getting closer to where it is that they want to go, closer to meeting objectives or to making objectives, getting closer to the fire so that they get a little bit more warm and a little bit more excited about being involved in Nikken, sharing Nikken. And that's why we put these events together. There's no other reason for these events except to keep the heat on and to create more warmth for those who are close to the fire. So I want to get people who are maybe prospects to get a little bit warmed up to the idea of Nikken and the world class of Nikken, the caliber of Nikken. I remember when I watched that first video and I saw Mr. Masuda in slow motion going down a set of stairs with a huge audience, cameras lights flashing. It was like watching the Academy Awards. He was in a black tie as he was going down to the stage to present it was a glimpse of what was going on at one of the Nikken events that I subsequently had a chance to experience myself personally in the coming months. But watching that on video, as a kid growing up, watching the Hollywood celebs, wishing and hoping that and wanting to be living that kind of a life. And I'm seeing that, and I'm being introduced to the possibility of being a part of that as a nobody in life at the time was glamorous. It was captivating. It was very emotional. And so when we expose people to Nikken on that level, it has an impact, and it has certainly an impact on me. And like I said, I don't think I'd have made anybody's top 10 list at the time. So the fact that I was somebody who was captivated and joined Nikken and then subsequently became one of Nikken's leaders just goes to show you, you just don't know where somebody's at. But if you can get them close to the fire, it might light them up. And then that can turn into a raging inferno that could last decades. You just got to get them close to the fire. And there may be somebody on your team who hasn't been close to the fire for a while. You know, they got on all excited at first, and then, you know, that excitement waned as they had their first encounters, you know, as we go through the learning curve, and maybe they got a little bit cold feet, a little shy, and they're just a little afraid to make the move. Get them close to the fire, remind them. And maybe there's some people on your team that are really doing well and deserve to see what it's like to be recognized and acknowledged. Maybe they're going to be. So get everybody close to the fire. It can only warm things up and make things better for everybody. And then you'll go into the last quarter of the year flying with flying colors, because there's some really neat things being set up for the last quarter of the year to make it an exciting finish. So I just don't want you to lose this opportunity. I cannot emphasize this enough, the importance of making this event part of your objectives for this week for your business. So as far as DMOs, daily method of operations, maybe that should be this week's DMO, is a certain number of calls per day as to invite people to this event. And if that was all you did, it would be a very, very productive thing to do. So last comments on this subject before I move on. Okay, so last week, as I said, we covered this, I think, really, really important subject, the idea of a daily method of operation. Because when you're involving people in this business, one of the things that makes this business work for those who are experiencing growth, such as Leo and his team, is they're following a system. That was my comment on the quarterly call that we just did on Saturday with Nikken, quarterly review this last quarter, which, by the way, is a great quarter. So Nikken's having some incredibly wonderful things happening right now. And this whole year has been a great year, a growth year for both Canada and USA. So we're on the right path. We're on the right track. We know that this is a foundation year. We were told at the very beginning, don't expect too much. This is a foundation year. And we were also told on the call that as of next month, November, we're going to be in beta, which means people will have been randomly selected to actually help Nikken go through the beta testing of the new website. And we were shown some interesting things about a way a person can shop. Here's an exciting one for you. Imagine you can put together a shopping cart. Let's say there's 3 items that you want to promote this week, this month, whatever. You got something going. And you want to bring attention to these 3 items. So you place these 3 items in the shopping cart, and it shows the order and shows the cost and so forth. Then it creates a URL that you can then share. So you can share it to your social media contacts. You can share it to your WhatsApp list. You can share it to your contacts list. You can share it to your prospect and say, here's what we were talking about. And then they would receive it as an order on your personal webpage. So all they have to do is click to purchase, or they can add items to that order, click to purchase. How about that? No longer having to figure out where anything is and add it to the shopping cart. It's done. Now that's a huge, huge selling point, a great way to promote Nikken and convert people. You know, let's say maybe you had a conversation with somebody and they're saying, you know, like, I'd like to get started with this, that, and the other. Okay, you put it together, send them the link. There you go. This is what it looks like. So it's fantastic. I think it's going to be a huge, huge tool for us. That's just one of the items they mentioned. So what we have coming in this website is going to be a game changer for us going into 2022. So this year's a foundation year. 2022 is take the plane starts going down the runway. And then what comes in 2023 is it's off the ground. And when it gets off the ground, it's going to be flying high. That's how we get to Vision 2025, by the way. This is a 3-year plan, guys. This is not something they're making up as they go. And some of us are invited to be behind the scenes on participating in the developments of certain aspects of this process, including the online training component and things like that. I even got a former copy of the UCube system as a quick handy reference to helping put together some of the guidance for the guidance system. So there's lots happening, and this is the best time to be in Nikken. I mentioned I had a meeting with an entrepreneur who I'm meeting again with tomorrow. And this is a very big developer, comes from a huge developer family in Canada. And he couldn't be more excited about a business idea than this. It was so amazing. He sold me on Nikken. And from a completely different point of view, it was like, oh my God, I know it was good. I know it was big, but this guy really understands where this is going and why now is better than ever and where this is going because of all the shifts that are happening. Do you know how many people are being displaced from work right now? Where are these people going to go? Do you know that this is maybe a good thing for them? This is maybe God's way of saying time to move, time to change. Maybe you thought you wanted that job just because you had that job, but now what you're really going to learn is that you want something more. How many people have found during this last 18, 20 months that more meant having less, but being at home with who they want to be with? I mean, there's so many things that are happening right now that are shifting the way we see the world and the way we want to interact with the world. That's making Nikken more and more relevant. So we're not becoming the company that's becoming less relevant during all of this, as so many are. We're becoming the company that's becoming more relevant, which means now's not the time to be lackadaisical about this. Now's the time to be very aggressive, get out there and let people know you have a solution. It may not be for them, but if they're at all open to a new possibility, then kick the tires, check it out. I mean, that's all our job is. Our job is to simply ask people to kick the tires, take a look. And if they like what they see, well, it's like that lady yesterday. She'll come to you and she'll say, how do I get started? What do you recommend? So that's it. That's all we have to do is just be at the right place at the right time, which is all the time, and open our mouths. So getting back to this DMO concept, the idea of what do we need to be doing on a daily basis? That's a system. Our conversation led to the what identified as one of the things that was happening in Canada that was very clear in the numbers, because the numbers in Canada are 10 times the growth that they are in the US, is that it's a very, very systematized process that's underway here. There's a lot of things that are happening very systematically, even though the system may be fairly, it may not be sharp, it may not be beautiful, it may not be, I don't know, just it wasn't put together by a marketing team or a marketing department. It's just simply a system. And the thing that we note is that when a system is duplicatable, when it can be followed and adhered to, it starts to multiply. And what multiplies can multiply exponentially in our compounding concept. And so I started publishing numbers a few years ago, about 2 years ago now, of the top retailers in Canada and the top PPV volumes in Canada, 500 points. If you hit 500 points or more in a month, your name would be on a list. And then the top 10 PGV on the list. So, and this is a report card, if you will, a one pager that I sent to the WhatsApp chat for my Canadian team. Every month, I would advise, here's what's going on. Here's all the people in order of volume, of the people who hit 500 points, of the people who were in the top 10 in terms of PGV. And what was very, very clear was the movement. First, I had like 2 columns of people who hit 500 points, and then I had to shrink and expand so I can get a 3rd column going. And now we're into the 5th column, I think 4th or the 5th column. I'm overrunning that, and I had to expand the list this way a number of times. So what's happening is the number of people doing 500 points in a month is increasing. That's one thing. What was interesting too was the PGV volume. was the value of the PGV. I think the top dogs in PGV when I started this is still Leo. It's always Leo. Somewhere Leo's in the top 2 spots, pretty much 9 out of 10, and chance that it's him. But I remember the volumes were a certain amount was below 5,000, and they were creeping up. But there was only like 2 people in that category, and the rest were like 2,000 and just over 2,000. We didn't have all 10 doing at least 2,000 points in PGV. That was interesting. Now we have 20 people, or over 20, I think it was 22 or 24 last month, who did over 2,000 in PGV. And the top 10 PGVs are now like in the scale of 9,000 and 8,000 and 7,000. And I mean, the numbers have gone up. So not only have the number of people getting 2,000 PGV, not only is the number of people doing that increased, but the actual volume of the people in the top 10 has increased. So that's another thing that's been happening as a curve. One other thing, obviously you guys are seeing this one, the number of silvers that are starting to happen are starting to pop. But once it was a month, and then maybe 2 or 3 months go by, and maybe there was another one, maybe 2 in a year, and now you're starting to see 2, 3. But Leo, how many? 4 last month or something like that. So what's happening now is not only is the number of silvers increasing, but the frequency of it increasing. So again, these are incredibly, if you were a business owner, and you are monitoring the things that a business owner would monitor about what's going on in their business, you would say, my God, this is really good. This is fantastic. All of the most important things that we measure are increasing, and they're increasing in more than one way. So I think that's incredibly significant and worth mentioning. But what changed? Why is it so unique to Canadians right now, relatively speaking, in terms of the percentage growth? And I think it's important to note what the difference is. There's a certain DMO happening, a certain daily method that's being taught, and a system that they're adhering to. Again, it's not, I've been through them, I've put together. I mean, it's not anything that I would be running around the world saying, hey, look at our great system. It's a system, and it does the job for now, and it's going to improve. But what's really important is that, number one, there is a system. Number two, people are being taught the system, the rhythm, and people are duplicating it. So if you don't have a system, then your DMO is non-existent. You can't point to anything on your calendar and tell me I do this every day with respect to my Nikken business. But if there is something that you do every day, not Sundays, every day, with the exception of maybe Sunday, but every day, if you're doing that thing and that thing is producing numbers on your PPV or on your PGV or in terms of rank advancement, if what you're doing every single day is having an impact on that scorecard, that's a system. So identify it, teach it, duplicate it. Leo, I'm going to pull you out for a second here, because you've got some people maybe on the call that you can ask to speak about this. But I keep pointing this out to you because I already know the answer. How many people per day, Leo Lemay, do you contact? New people per day do you contact to invite to explore Nikken? How many people per day?
It's 2 or 3.
Oh, it's 2 or 3 now. It used to be 1 or 2. Okay, so 2 or 3. That's even better. 2 to 3 people per day. And you're now, are you teaching that? Is that what you're teaching your team to do?
Yeah.
And how you're doing that is by starting conversations in different ways?
Yeah. I just begin the conversation, but how are you? What you do about the COVID-19? It's easy. It's easy. And when he asks me, and you, what do you do? That's what I like.
And your line is?
I'm a Japanese technology consultant with the magnetic, far infrared, alkaline water, and ambassador from you might be more quick. He said, oh my gosh, what's that? Sounds good. I give you an email, I send you 4 email.
And there you go. And there,
Easy.
and then he's now the process is underway. And now you teach that. I see Michaela she's doing this. I'm seeing and this is what you're doing, I assume, as well. Yes.
Hi, Michael. I want to introduce Michael. She do silver and first 40 days.
40 days. There we go. So now we're starting to see people achieve the rank of silver in less than 3 months, less than 2 months. That's fantastic, Michaela. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And so now, would you verify, is this what you're doing? Are you teaching this? Are you using this yourself?
You're talking to me or Leo?
Yes. Are you doing, if I ask you how many contacts per day, what's your number of contacts per day?
It's between 1 and 3, but I took everything from Leo and I just apply it. And I'm pretty much on every Zoom coaching whenever I can, if possible. If I have, appointments, then I can't, but I'm there all the time. And you said it earlier, stay close to the fire. So that's what I'm doing.
That's fantastic.
And for the love of God, we've talked about it every day this week. I don't know exactly what I'm doing. On top of that, I decided to just accept everything, just open the doors and allow even magic to apply to whatever I'm doing. And so there's a part that's conscious. There's another part that's I'm not quite sure yet what's happening. Some parts I don't even believe I'm going through right now. And the rest is magic. So I just allow all of that and something's happening. So I'll just continue like that.
Fantastic. Well, like I was saying, it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be polished. It doesn't have to be put together by a marketing team or a marketing department. It just has to be something that others can do like you. And when you duplicate, it starts to compound, and the compounding effect is what we're seeing here. So what's happening in Canada is the compounding effect. It's what happens when you do something consistently every day. If you're doing it and randomly, you're not going to experience the compound effect. You'll never see the bend in the knee. You'll never see that incredible rise in success. So it's the daily, it's the daily, it's the daily. And it doesn't have to be anything special. And yeah, make room for magic, because I think life is magical. And a friend of mine, that businessman I was talking about, keeps saying this: you make a move and the angels will do 10 times as much. So, but you got to make a move. So expect magic, expect miracles. I think that's a beautiful way to live. And I believe that's actually very, very accurate. So that's what's happening, Michele. Is it Michaele or Michael?
Well, in French, it would be Michael, but
Michaela.
Michaela is all right as well. So Spanish people or Italian people will just say Michaela because it's within their language already.
Yeah, it's my name is Michele.
Yeah, Michele. Well,
Yeah, that's actually my name.
It's
No.
in the same family.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is. Awesome.
Yep.
So,
Thank you.
so thank you. So, okay. So back to you, Leo. She mentioned calls, coaching calls. Okay. Can you tell us more than you're doing you're reaching out and touching new lives every day, but what are you inviting them to when they receive their email? What does your call schedule consist of?
And I do a system, you see, work for me. Every Monday, I have a motivation call, 7 o'clock, every Monday.
7 o'clock till what? 7 to 8 p.m. Motivation.
Motivation, announce, buy your ticket, come to the convention.
Promotion, motivation. Yeah, it's a team call.
Yeah, team call, and 8 o'clock to 8:30, just a testimonial call. And tonight we have 29 people and 13 guests.
Fantastic. So I'm not too proud. I can tell you right now that the team, Sophia, Savannah, and Eleanor building Sovereign Life team, they did an 8 p.m. to, 7 to 8 p.m. team call, motivation, announcements, strategy. And from 8 o'clock to 8:30, they did a testimonial call. So yeah, if it works, duplicate it. It's not what you do, it's what you duplicate. That's what counts. Okay, so you do that on Monday. What else you do?
And each Wednesday night coaching call, only Q&A, and give a strategy more 1 hour and more.
So Wednesday night from what, 7 to 8 coaching call?
7 to 8 and more. Okay.
Okay, 8 plus. So it's Q&A.
Thursday morning, 10 to 10 o'clock and more.
10 a.m. for about an hour.
Yes, and more. And Friday, each week they got 3 coachings,
What time on Friday?
same time, 10 o'clock.
10 a.m. So whoever can make it, makes it. And what you're saying is, Michael, you're pretty much on as many of them as you can possibly make. Yeah.
And Mike, he always has guests on A Better Way on Thursday night, on Ben's call on Tuesday. He leverages the other Nikken events.
Absolutely. So if we looked at that, I would say what Leo has is a rhythm to his business.
Yeah.
And that's exactly where the name Rhythm of the Business comes from. It comes from an event schedule that you participate in, you host, co-host, and participate in on a weekly basis. And that's what you've got here. You've got a repeating schedule of events that not only does Leo make himself available for, participate in, but everybody on the team knows about it and follows and plugs in. So he's creating, with time, an audience of people who are participating. You have a comment, Michael?
I'd like to add that on top of all of that, we also receive quite a lot of emails, great emails and messenger notes and reminders. And I'm going to be on the call or on the Zoom at noon today if you want to join me, or on
Reminders.
Thursday and Friday morning. It's would you like to take your coffee with me at 10 a.m. for the team coaching? So it's repeat. So it enters our minds, and when we can just use that and repeat it with our, consultants and our clients and stuff. So it's at the beginning, it's a lot of information, but then when you just go into the system, you use that, it's easy.
It starts to become your rhythm.
Yeah.
And
Perfect.
a result of that, maybe for sure, 2 or 3 more silver this month. And the end of the year, 5 or 6 Club TI. Last year, I'm just me do a Club TI, but the end of the year, Michael Club TI, Fernand Club TI, Jean Club TI, it's coming. You
Yeah.
see?
That's how you know, guys. How do you know? Because there's a score card and they're ticking the things on the scorecard: PPV, PGV, rank advancement, Club Ki, or silver Club Ki. So all those things are check, check, check. And what's making that happen is a rhythm. There's a DMO, a daily method of operation. Every Wednesday is every Wednesday, every Thursday is every Thursday, every Friday is every Friday, every Monday is every Monday. So it doesn't vary. It doesn't change. It creates a rhythm that people can plug into and start participating in. And as that rhythm builds, the amplitude builds. It's like pushing a swing. If you push a swing at the right rhythm, the amplitude of the swing is going to increase. And that's what's happening. And that's why you see the numbers on the scorecard increasing. That's why I'm seeing those numbers. So it's both what it takes to actually build the rhythm, and then the feedback. The feedback, when you measure it and you share it back with people, what you measure matters. What you measure and recognize multiplies. these golden truths, these golden principles really actually are real. And one of the reasons why I isolated Canada in my measurements is, number one, because it's easy to do for me, because I have such a large frame. Most of the business in Canada is in my network, so I can monitor that volume specifically. I get the information sent to me monthly by Nikken. I've requested this as a special facility for me so I can track this. And I wanted to prove, because there was an exercise that I did in 2017 when we did the cross Canada tour. I don't know if some of you remember that. We did a product launch, and I did across Canada, and I had my teammates like Maggie hosting events in their city, and we created a matching flyer. Every city had the same flyer. It announced the date, the time, and it was a marketing campaign for an event that was across Canada. It was like a train going across Canada, and it had stops. Well, we did that in an isolated way, and we found that the volume in Canada was 60% higher than the volume in the United States for the same month. We saw an incredible change in the outcome. All it was a coordinated effort. It was a marketing coordinated effort where we got everybody on the same page, talking the same thing, promoting the same thing, and then everybody started cross-promoting each other's events. So they knew the one that was coming in Montreal, so they had guests go to the Montreal one. They knew the one that was going to Manitoba, so they had guests there. So we cross-pollinated and created an outcome. And we monitored it. What you measure matters. What you measure and recognize multiplies. And we then did that. We did the recognition of all that. So we saw that happen. And that gave us an understanding that if you choreograph the effort, where it's not just random, but it's actually choreographed. It's like a conductor in a symphony orchestra. You can have all these incredible musicians, but with finely tuned instruments. But if they all start playing their own thing all at the same time, it's just going to sound like noise. The audience is going to go crazy. It's going to be, just shut that off. You know, if you ever hear them practicing before the conductor comes in, all these crazy notes, it's like, oh God, could you imagine sitting through that for 2 hours? So, but these are finely tuned instruments with some of the best musicians in the world. What does it take? The conductor, bring everybody's attention. Everybody has the sheet music in front of them, so they have the calendar of events, they have the schedule of events, and then the conductor goes. And then they begin the rhythm. And what do you hear? Music. Beautiful music. So that's what a system is. So the DMO is, what's the thing I'm doing every day that you can count on, like brushing your teeth, that if I do that every day is going to put numbers on the scorecard. And if we measure those numbers and we recognize those achievements, that's going to create a multiplication effect.
Like if we can connect it to the one slide, as I'm thinking about Leo and the momentum he has from this time last year, that one slide's talking about the incentives and the stair step. So now he has the silvers that are reaching the club KI, so that by this time next year, he'll have more people on his team reaching Team Kaizen and Team Tai Chi. So his whole team will be going to the next big leadership thing together rather than just Leo alone. So that's that. You might do that, that one slide that you have with the throwing the pebbles in the pool and put the names on the pebbles of the new silvers to show that as an example. Well,
That's
that would
an
be
interesting one.
yeah, because then it brings to life, you know, everybody's saying, well, the slides are boring. Well, now we have a story to go. We don't just have the product stories, we have the business story to go with the slide with the incentive plans.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah. And to spruce up that better way a little, you know, just have it as an example. So that could just be the business example. Yeah.
So Leo, that might be a little bit of homework for you. Might be nice to put, you know, what you're doing, show us in a PowerPoint. This was this, this was this. And
it's time to turn the baton over for some new people to presenting the better way.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I bring to your attention tonight the importance of this DMO, this daily method of operation, which is tied to a rhythm. It's that daily activity with some rhythm, which is basically a calendar of events. And of course, contacting, inviting new people into that rhythm is what creates compounding. And when you measure it and you recognize it, is when it starts to multiply. And so it's this combination, this effect that's happening that we're seeing in Canada that I don't see being replicated in the States yet. So, and I could be wrong, there may be isolated cases within teams. I know there are teams that are hitting big numbers, but we're not seeing it. If we're not seeing it, we can't identify the pattern, then it's not being recognized for it to be multiplied. So I would say to those of you who are experiencing those things, that's the next step for you, is to validate your system and recognize it so that others can see it, and that's when it'll start to multiply. So yeah, that's the mystery. In my opinion, there's not much of a mystery. We all have the same products to work with, same compensation plan. We have the same company, you know, we have our own individual challenges. Everybody has their challenges, but there is a very distinct difference between what's happening with some consistency up north here versus other places. And where we see the success and the growth is always, and it's always been the case, when there's a rhythm, when there's a DMO, when there's a systematic approach to the business where it's every day, every day, every day. It's like having a coffee, it's like brushing your teeth, it's every day. And that's when the compounding happens. Leo, were there times when maybe at the beginning it seemed rather lonely? It seemed like you were doing this just for yourself?
Can you repeat?
At the beginning, earlier on, a few years back, did it seem like, was it a struggle at first? Did it seem like you were just doing this for yourself at first?
I'm just doing it for myself.
And then something started to build. Did
Because,
people quit?
yeah,
Yeah, people quit. Wow, you too? You experienced that?
yes.
And so some people stay, not for a long time, but they contribute to what's going on. And that's all part of it. But how do you keep it alive? How do you keep it going? You just keep the fire burning. You got to
So
keep the fire burning. Sorry, go ahead, Leo.
So for me, we began Nikken in 2017 when the new compensation plan.
Yeah.
So excited about it, but I'm starting Nikken with no more consultant on my group. They all quit. You know.
So you were a lonely Nikken consultant, and you had a new compensation plan, so a new reason to approach this, but in a different way.
I was platinum and with nobody.
But you also said this to you also said you didn't want to do what you did before. You didn't want to do it that way. You wanted to do it in a way that was more fun, easier to do.
Yeah, easier to duplicate.
Easier to duplicate. Again, the principle, it's not how good you are at what you do, it's how well you duplicate what you do. Even if you do it poorly, it's better than not duplicating at all. So again, you know, I would take stock. You guys made a list last week with me. I've got it in front of me on the call. If you want to listen to last week's call, because we went through 5 pillars of wellness and said, hey, let's come up with some things you could do every day to improve your well-being in each of these 5 pillars: body, mind, family, society, finances. And we made a list of a few things in each category. And I said, just pick 2. If all you did was pick 2 and you did those 2 every day, your life is going to be radically different 90 days from now. It can happen that quickly. It does, actually. So I would say, go back to that call, revisit it, make the list, pick the 2 that stand out for you, and then compare that again to this call and ask yourself, what can you apply from this call as your DMO? And if there's something missing, like I don't have a calendar of events, make one up, or look at what is out there and plug in. when you're new to the business, that's the easiest thing to do. And if you have an active upline who has a calendar of events, the easiest thing to do is plug into theirs. So again, I hope this takes a little bit of the mystery out, but always leave room for magic, because that's when things really get interesting. But I said, like my friend says, you know, you got to make a move and the angels will move. But if you don't move, they don't move. So magic comes when you make things happen. And if you do that with consistency, you're going to experience what Einstein called the eighth wonder of the world. He called compounding the eighth wonder of the world. That's magic. And so again, move, keep moving, and watch what happens. The compounding effect is real. And I hope now we have enough in the history here of the last couple of years to say, look, there's really something going on here in Canada that's very notable. And it's based on these core principles that everyone can apply. Anyone can do this. What is this? A DMO. Do something with some regularity that puts numbers on the scorecard. Make sure that the thing that you're doing actually does contribute to those numbers. And you've heard it all tonight. I don't think there's anything missing. And you'll get better at it as you do it. You'll just get better at it. Michaela, you're going to get way better at this. Can you imagine a year from now how good you're going to be? How many people you're going to be teaching?
Actually, on Saturday morning, Leo gave me a silver level interview. He started doing this in our organization, and his last question was, okay, where do you see yourself from now to December 31st, and then where do you see yourself in 5 years? I said, I don't know. I was used to kind of going day by day, so that's too far away from myself. So he said, okay, I'll teach you about that, and we'll have you, look forward or later on. So we'll do just that. For now, it's day to day. I'm going month by month right now, and then we'll see for the rest.
Fantastic. So you've gone from day to day to month by month. By the way, that should be really interesting for me to kind of point this little piece out for you. So I have a system that I wrote some years ago called U Cubed. Later became the wellness track, but on the back of every one of the cards, there's 4 cards, is the rhythm of the business. There's the daily, the weekly, the monthly. And you get that when you are in the rank of gold. Before you hit the rank of gold, or excuse me, silver. But before you get there, you've got to learn how to duplicate. And so that's what you're doing right now, is you've learned how to duplicate. And all you have to worry about is, what do I got to do today and this week? That's all there is for you to learn, the daily and the weekly. But now that you've hit silver, you have to have a bigger view. You have to learn what's going on daily, weekly, and monthly. So you're going to get more aware of the rhythm. And then when you hit gold, you start thinking, well, what am I going to be doing daily, weekly, monthly, and the rest of the year, which is the quarterly, semi-annual, and annual. So what you become more aware of is a bigger picture, is a further distance as you develop yourself. So you're absolutely right on track. Perfect.
That seems quite of a nice tool. Where did you get that?
It doesn't exist anymore. It's history. But what you're teaching, what you're learning comes from this. There's a lot of knowledge that's come from this idea that's been integrated into the Nikken family. But some of these concepts, they're being re-adopted in the online work that's happening and it's coming up. So yeah.
Like we do have it on this card.
There is the skeleton of it right there in one of the tools that we have at lifeandbalancetools.com. You can see that card. And that is referring to the rhythm. Again, what's the daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, semi-annual, annual? You don't have to worry about that until you have to worry about that. So if you're new, it's just the daily that you worry about. if you're daily, weekly. You know, what am I doing this day and this week? And that's the rhythm that we just went over with Leo's calendar. It's a daily, weekly. When you hit silver and you're starting to think about your team, now you want to go, okay, so what's the goal for the month? What are we doing this month? And so it's not just the daily, weekly that I'm worried about. It's the daily, weekly that's going to happen this month for my team. Things like that. You start to think a little bit bigger. It's expanded view. Mrs. Kramer, you have a question or comment?
Yes, I do. Getting back to today, we have someone, Christian, posted a while back, around half an hour or 3/4 of an hour ago. Funny you mentioned this. I've had the VAX conversation with my boss today. I would like to ask Christian, for the benefit of all of us, how many other people might have had that VAX conversation with the boss today? And if other than you, Christian, maybe you would like to have a conversation with them about Nikken.
Perfect. Absolutely. I mean, I know that there's a lot of people who don't know what to do because they don't know they have options.
Right.
And this situation is forcing them to confront that. And so I think, yeah, it's all the more reason. And there's nothing going against us. It's all in favor of us. What we have is a great alternative for people that they should be considering, whether they were in a crisis or not. This has been always a good idea. This is just bringing it to a head in terms of focus. Okay, well, I've got like 4 minutes and I want to definitely wrap up. Anyone want to chime in toward the end? Dr. Gary, we don't usually hear from you enough. So how about you? What do you feel about what we talked about tonight?
I think very valuable information. You need a system. You need a daily method of operation. And then basically once you have that, it's just plugging people into it. But like you said, it's a system, and whatever that system works for you. I mean, I loved you bringing up the U cube and all those that I remember fondly. And I was talking with somebody about this earlier today. I said, we also had another system that they called the fast track. That was one of the team diamonds. And when I first got involved, that's what I was given. And I looked at that, I studied that. I pretty much came to the realization that this business pretty much began at silver, and I wanted to be there as soon as I possibly could. And it was a roadmap that showed me how to get there. So that's some of the things I think we've been missing as a team, in North America, per se. So yeah, great call, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So there you have it, folks. It's up to you to plug and play, right? Anyone else before I wrap up here then?
I just want to mention tomorrow night, I put it in the chat. Heather and I will be doing Better Together. It's on this same channel, the same password, Nikken 1.
That's at 9 p.m. Eastern.
9 Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. It's really good for guests. It's a brief overview of Nikken, the company, our products, and the wellness home, and our business.
So have a look, guys. If you're looking for a system, if you're looking for a calendar of events that you can plug into on a weekly basis, this is one of those calendar events. We have this on our, I don't think I have it in front of me here. Oh, I do have it. We have this on our Nikken Connect. So it's one of the calls that you can tap into as a weekly, this is a weekly calendar, as a weekly call for your system. But don't make it random. Find the one that fits for you, make that a weekly event as part of your rhythm, part of your schedule, part of your DMO. And that's how you build momentum.
Same channel.
Same. Okay, so there you have it. If you want to get a copy of this schedule, I'm sure whoever invited you here, or it's on the chats, we can get a copy, send me a chat, and it's a digital, we can send it to you, or you can actually get a printed copy from Life and Balance Tools if you want to hand things out.
It's in the core newsletter, bottom of the core newsletter.
Thank you too. Yes. So if you're not registered for the Core Consultant newsletter, do that as well. The Core Consultant newsletter. Let me just see if I have the coordinates for that. And that way you'll get a weekly, which includes links to most important events coming up, great information about business building techniques, tools. It's bit.ly, bit.ly/CC newsletter subscribe. Again, bit.ly/CC newsletter subscribe, all one word, no space. And then you can subscribe to the newsletter, get that weekly. And there are links, as Madeline pointed out, including a downloadable PDF of the weekly schedule, the Nikken Connect schedule. So there you have it, folks. This was an action-packed call tonight. Really good information. I think solid business building stuff. Please share, comment, let people know on the chats if it's a worthwhile call to listen to. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Great call, Mike.
Thank you.